So before I get started on this video, I'd like to issue a warning. This could be a lengthy video, and I'm not going to apologize for it, mostly because anyone who's bought into the short videos, they really are unable to think. Now, this video started out with me observing this individual in a news segment from 1970. And I'm going to play the entire segment, and I'm going to blend two ideas for you. Originally, this started out as a search for the identity of Yoko Ono. And when I saw this news segment, I said, I think I found the actor that plays Yoko Ono. Now, I'm not entirely sure of that, but there seems to be some pretty good evidence to suggest that I did locate one of the actors. Remember, oftentimes there are several who play the role of the celebrity. So you can have several actors play the role of, say, Yoko Ono, and several actors play the role of a John Lennon, of which we do have several John Lennons and several Paul McCartneys and so forth. Okay, so this is a clip from National News segment, and I'll play a little. I'll take it back to the start, and we'll go from there.
Message of Earth Day still came through. Act or die. Good evening. A unique day in American history is ending. A day set aside for a nationwide outpouring of...
Okay, now keep in mind that that's Marshall McLuhan, the media guru expert, playing Walter Cronkite, and by chron, and from the Greek word chronos, meaning time, plus the word kite, and I'm not going to try to expound upon kite. Now, this is introducing to America Earth worship, going backwards, trying to take a Western civilization and turning it back to a primitive paganism. Notice the colorful sun that's emanating there, and possibly the earth, the red, the blue, and the yellow. Remember, yellow is the false light of Lucifer, and red and blue are the two colors, so to speak, in the hoax-lie system that combine a passion and a story. Okay? So Cronkite is none other than Marshall McLuhan. Alright?
Mankind seeking its own survival. Earth Day. A good part of the effort to make this Earth Day a success was concentrated, of course, in the major population and pollution centers. We have a report on several of the big cities, beginning with Robert Shackney in Boston.
It had been a small, and it seemed a thoroughly peaceful...
Now remember, news is scripted. In other words, they had some actors with signs. They had some so-called people in the crowd that were there as fill-in substitute actors, just supposedly the crowd, but they always have a sign. And notice this individual off in the corner. Remember, this is 1970, Logan Airport. Notice that individual. So another way you can tell it's scripted is they don't really look at the camera. Most people who are just average individuals, when somebody's filming, they'll kind of stare at the camera. But the actors are trained not to look at the camera.
Peaceful, non-disruptive demonstration. Students finishing Earth Day with what they called a die-in at Boston's Logan Airport. coffins to symbolize the problems of airport and airplane pollution. It wasn't clear why the state police ordered the demonstrators out, but they were leaving when, for no visible reason, trouble. The police charging the crowd, seizing the coffins, pushing those who moved too slowly, and arresting 13.
Now notice, too, how the narrator tells you what you're supposed to be seeing, rather than allowing your brain to tell you that you're just watching actors creating a film.
There had been talk in advance of crowds of thousands, of attempts to disrupt the airport, but that didn't happen. This crowd, just a few hundred, had seemed orderly and nonviolent.
No chance was given. People were trying to get up. They were really trying, and incredible. They didn't give them a chance. The kid was trying to get the door.
Earth Day in Logan Airport. Police arrests disorder. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Boston.
For 2 hours, fashionable Fifth Avenue was off limits.
You know, most likely this is crowd hoaxing. That there's just a handful of people and they fill all this in. It's a very popular thing they do, crowd hoaxing. Making you think thousands and thousands and thousands are attending this glorious day we're going to present the earth for worship.
Automobiles and became a crowded pedestrian mall. Autos were banned on busy 14th Street, too, and thousands of persons jammed into Union Square to attend an Earth Day rally. The square hadn't looked this clean in years, with volunteer help doing the sprucing up. It was...
See, the idea is that get your idea off of souls need to be saved, and somehow the earth needs to be saved. And you're going to start indoctrinating children into this whole idea of Earth Day, that the earth is dying and we need to worship it and preserve it and so forth. It's just so silly. The children may be the only genuine ones in the whole thing because they're looking at the camera, see?
A fun day for many school-age youngsters participating in their very first demonstration.
So in other words, they want to indoctrinate future generations from this segment in 1970 in national news. Tell everybody, big sensation, Earth Day.
There were dozens of exhibits, including this block-long air bubble, to prove how quiet it can be in a busy city.
I'm sure it's pretty quiet in there, isn't it, with all this so-called crowd going on and film crews everywhere. I'm sure it's really quiet. This is soundproof material.
The two streets that were blocked off provided islands of quiet. The quality of the air improved, but you didn't have to go far to find Manhattan as it really is. Morton Dean, CBS News, New York.
Yeah, it's really terrible. All the pollution from these cars, and everybody's going to die.
Welcome, sulfur dioxide. Hello, carbon monoxide.
In terms of air pollution...
Okay, once again, crowd hoaxing, a handful of people, and they just fill all this in. See, you can almost see it right there, the differences in color.
Chicago ranks close to the top nationally, which isn't much to sing about, but that they did at a mass rally in the Loop to mark Earth Day. Over 4,000 persons came to listen to the singing and the speeches, much less than what was expected.
There's what people should have been wearing here. Anyhow, I don't want to say too much about that, but that would have been the most appropriate thing for all of us to put on.
Among the recommendations to improve the environment, the establishment of pollution courts to quickly try offenders, and the elimination of the internal combustion engine, a suggestion no doubt aimed at purifying the city's often choking atmosphere.
So they're actually picking up on a theme on that currently, supposedly trying to push all these electric cars, which would reduce your ability to travel great distances, by the way. It also give you something that's very prone to explode in a fire. Incidentally, I think I actually caught on video when I was driving on the interstate one of these electrical battery cars actually blowing up and fire. Somebody thought that that video posted that they looked like it was fake, but I reassure you, I was in the car driving, and I caught it right on film. Anyhow, let's get back to these Earth Day protests. Woo!
Mike Pappas, CBS News, Chicago.
Thousands of students demonstrated at colleges and universities throughout the West.
You know, this is the portion when I saw this, and the individual talk a little bit about it, the possibility of the individual playing Yoko Ono. So this video is going to have those two elements. I'm going to try to make a little case for that. But mostly I'm trying to talk about this nonsense of Earth worship.
At Caltech, while others did the talking, one toddler was doing his own bit to protect the environment. Another...
Okay, there she is, or he is. When I saw this, just instantly in my mind said, that's Yoko Ono. Now, the credentials for this individual to speak at this Earth Day rally are that the individual gave a speech a year prior to this filming. So this was filmed 1970. In 1969, Stephanie Mills gives a commencement address at Mills College. Interesting, huh? Stephanie Mills, Mills College. And Mills College is located near, I believe, in Oakland, California. And the title of the address was "The Future is a Cruel Hoax." Interesting title. Now, literally overnight, this obscure student becomes a national celebrity. So what am I suggesting? Just another actor, all right? A lot of the actors came out of acting school over that way, and this individual may have had dual role, actually playing Yoko Ono and also becoming an activist to encourage women not to have children and to worship the earth. Now, all that was implied and contained in that groundbreaking speech, no pun intended, groundbreaking, at Mills College in 1969, the commencement address. Now, another thing I want you to notice is that the types of glasses that sometimes actors prefer to wear, and if you look at the glasses that just came off, they're very similar to the ones that Yoko Ono wears. Anyhow, I started out wanting to make a case for that, and I thought, you know what, I'll make the video anyhow because it ties into this whole idea of introducing basically a society that had Judeo-Christian values where people are attending church to a high number and now saying, forget church, forget God, and just worship the earth.
Another speaker who vowed as a college girl never to bear children and who works now with Planned Parenthood, Stephanie Mills.
I think that it's terribly important for us to begin to involve ourselves in politics so that we can turn the system around. If we got together to date Nixon, we might end up with nothing, but I think that may be worth a try. Obviously, this administration is being utterly hypocritical in its attempts to deal with environmental pollution. Obviously. $1 billion a year is what Walter Hickel is talking about spending cleaning up water pollution. Now, 80 times that is what we're spending to defoliate Southeast Asia and to incinerate Southeast Asians. This has got to come to a halt.
Okay, now remember, at this particular time, the war in Vietnam is occurring, and that was what the reference was to, was defoliating the shrubberies and trees with Agent Orange to make the enemy visible. Might have been more about an experiment with chemicals on U.S. soldiers. Incidentally, P.S., at one time I did encounter a young man who was born from a soldier in Vietnam and had great deformities of the physical body due to Agent Orange. Now notice I said from the soldier, the American soldier in Vietnam, not a Vietnamese. So the chemical greatly affected those individuals who were stationed in Vietnam. All right, so you can see I like to talk, and my videos are not short. And I like to get out some information that I have acquired over the years. So we'll talk a little bit about this Stephanie Mills, the one that I'm trying to say could possibly be possibly Yoko Ono. Now, she originally was in California out there, or he, and moved to Michigan later to continue the work of ecology. Author of books and loves of poetry and things like that. I think there's even some art in there, so it kind of fits the mold of a Yoko Ono. This is the picture whereby I try to establish the relationship between Yoko Ono and Stephanie Mills. Okay, Yoko Ono looks like in the 70s, and a Stephanie Mills more in modern times. We get a 45%. Now, that's not really great, but it does give some possibility of connecting the two. Now remember, if this is an actor who plays Yoko, and this is the actor, multiple actors over multiple times can play the different roles. Okay? So you can go on YouTube and you can get all kinds of information if you want about Stephanie Mills. The first Earth Day was April 22nd, 1970, and she was sort of echoing two books. The one book was The Population Explosion by Paul Ehrlich. And the other book, of course, was Rachel Carson's, came out in 62 or 63 on Silent Spring. It kind of helped blend these two streams together to make the ecology movement. And the speech was her valedictorian or commencement address in 1969 at Mills College, where she vowed not to have children because of the population crisis was destroying natural resources. In other words, get away from God's purpose and God's plan that it's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable to bear children, and say what we have to really worry about is Earth. Earth is dying and we're destroying Earth and we're messing up this place called Earth. Okay? Now, this is the beginning of this movement, which is now still fairly popular that Earth needs to be worshipped, and that is replacing the worship of the one true God. Now, I probably should say a word like, maybe I sound a little too harsh, and maybe I sound like I don't care. No, I don't want to throw garbage out on a beautiful area where there's a park. No, I'm not like that. But I'm not going to say the earth is dying. I'm not going to say you need to worship it. All right, so I'm going to go back over to my other computer here. Now, if you're hanging in there with me, I do appreciate it. My videos are not extremely well edited or perfected like a lot of the videos out there. But I do like to show you my results and my research. Not claiming perfection, not claiming that I'm always right. But here's another Yoko Ono and Stephanie Mills comparison. Okay, it's not coming up that great, I admit. But nevertheless, I saw some pretty striking resemblance there. The minute I watched that particular newscast that was broadcast in 1970. So this character, Stephanie Mills, will become a media success instantly. Instantly. And why is that? Because she'll say women should not, she made a decision, a vow, not to bear children. Why? Because Paul Ehrlich brought out a book called The Population Bomb. Depopulate the earth. There's too many useless eaters. All right? And she also combined Rachel Carson, that people need to be careful about what they're doing to Earth. Now, there's some validity, definitely, to Rachel Carson, as DDT was being sprayed on children, but I don't want to give any validity to Paul Ehrlich, that the world is suffering from a population bomb. Now, the speech that she gave was called The Future is a Cruel Hoax, which is an interesting title because she used the word hoax. And that was in 1969. So basically, this individual becomes extremely involved in Planned Parenthood, which is going to push and promote this. And this is basically Moloch, the sacrifice of children. Okay? So in 69, 70, 72, this individual is highly involved in this, and Roe v. Wade is going to come out in, I think, January of 73, which means there was a continual amount of energy that went out to allow this in America. And maybe 60 million or so children are gone because of it. So what really is the message of the ecosystem movement? Is it really about making the trees more beautiful? No. It's about saying that any human being is just part of an ecosystem. And there's no reference to the image and likeness of Almighty God in that individual. And you can do whatever you want to human life, but you can't do anything to harm trees or bugs. Now that's a reference to the idea of what? Combining these two things. Well, let's see if I have anything else to share on this. And if you've hung in there with me on this, I do want to thank you. Some of you hang in there quite faithfully, and by the way, anyone's welcome to bail out at any time on any of my videos, as I do admit that my videos are not polished. But I do want to tell you I'm prolific. Okay, there's your Stephanie Mills. Now, this one up here really caused me to see the resemblance and the type of glasses that Yoko wore. Now this one here seems to suggest transgender. And one of the books is Whatever Happened to Ecology. Yeah, why isn't anybody obsessed with it anymore? There's still some people out there that want to focus in on saving the earth and everything like that. Stephanie Mills. I think you can see here the possibility of transgender. I didn't find any reference to why, you know, her name is Mills and if she's related to the Mills or the founding of the college there. But once again, that could just be a stage name to try to associate you with that college. And there's Mills College, the history of it. This is her own web page, or his own web page. Now this one here, once again, the type of glasses, even the smile, the way the head is, it just suggests to me and cries out to me, Yoko, 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 Yoko. I'm loco for Yoko. And here's some of Yoko's photos. Now you can see, like in this photo, it's a different John Lennon, maybe a different Yoko. Multiple actors will play the role of one celebrity. I can see it right there. Now supposedly Lennon met Yoko in 1966 in London, some kind of an art show. Again, it's just all hooey. They're fictional characters to a certain extent. There may have been an original John Lennon, but then again, after the original, there would be several duplicates playing the role to continue the movement that has been started. Now I see it right in there too. Okay. So I'm not saying I'm correct. And this one does bring up a high percentage with Yoko on the left and Stephanie Mills on the right. But my other one over here does do a little bit of a higher with a Stephanie Mills on the right and a Yoko on the left. So if you have been watching this, I do want to thank you, and I do want to just once in a while give you some videos. I'm not entirely sure, but I tried to combine those two things, the so-called start of Earth Day in 1970 and the possibility of Stephanie Mills serving as one of the actors that played Yoko Ono. Thank you for watching. End of video.